Right, hello year 5. I hope you've had another good weekend and you're ready to start writing this week because that's where we're up to. We've done our planning, I think, now, haven't we, last week? You might have even started writing, some of you. Well, you should have anyway. I've got a new microphone this week, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me a bit more clearer. We'll get into it because I want to give you as much time as possible to write. So, the question I'm asking you is, what is the parenthesis and how do we punctuate it? Now, we've looked a bit at this before in class. We've certainly talked about it during SPAG lessons and so on. So I want you to pause the video here, have a quick chat with somebody whoever's helping you and just get on with it. Okay, parenthesis is adding extra information using punctuation. Now, the punctuation we can use is either brackets, commas, or dashes. And those go in between the added information. That's how we punctuate it. So I'll show you the parenthesis or an example sentence that I want you to put the parenthesis into. So I want you to have a think about where would you put or how would you put the punctuation to put, for parentheses in this sentence. So it says, my next door neighbour, whose house is attached to ours, has a large tree in his back garden. Pause the video here, see if you can try and work it out. Okay, it would go, if I just get my text up, it would go about here. So, my next door neighbour, whose house is attached to ours, has a large tree in his back garden. The sentence would make sense if we just put, my next door neighbour has a large tree in his back garden, but because we put whose tree is attached to ours, we've added that extra information. And it links in to relative clauses that obviously we were looking a lot at last week as well. Okay, next one. There is a tall oak tree which stands proudly at the end of the garden. Where does my parentheses goes? I've used dashes in the last one. You might have used commas, sorry. You might want to use dashes or brackets in this one. Pause the video here and have a go at it. Off you go. Okay, so there is a tall oak tree which stands proudly at the end of the garden. So, where's the sentence that makes sense by itself? And where's the added information, the bit that gives some extra info? There is a tall oak tree which stands proudly at the end of the garden. So I would put it here. I'm going to use brackets this time, I think. So there is a tall oak tree. We could say that could be said as somebody pointing it out to you. And then we've got here, which stands proudly at the end of the garden. It tells us where it is and it shows us something about it. If it stands proudly, what do you picture that tree doing? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So, my mom, who needed milk and bread, asked me to go to the shop. Pause the video here, fill it in. Quicker we do it, quicker we can get on. Okay, so, my mom, and I'm going to use dashes this time, just so you've seen what it's like to use all of them. My mom, who needed milk and bread, asked me to go to the shop. So, if we just said, my mom asked me to go to the shop, that would make sense, wouldn't it? I'm sure your moms and dads have probably asked you that before. If we use this here between the dashes, who needed milk and bread, we're adding information and we're finding out more reasons as to why this person's mom has asked them to go to the shop. It's adding that extra information. And as we've said in this biography before, it's really, really important to add as much information in as possible, and using these parentheses helps us to do that. Okay. Right. Off you go. Here's some sentences. I want you to have a go at adding the parentheses in. Which punctuation can go where, which makes sense. Show me how to do it. Pause the video here and we'll go through it all together very quickly. Okay, I'll go through it now using the pen. It decides to load. Right. So the bookshelves, comma, which are at the back of the classroom, comma, are full of books. The bookshelves are full of books makes sense. that adds extra information. She set off on her journey, probably the most important of her life. So I could use commas there to go around this part. And that would make sense. She set off from her journey, probably the most important of her life. It adds that bit extra information. The boy, who really loved football, waited patiently for the first match of the season to start. Makes sense, doesn't it? So we put that there. It's adding information about football. I can think of a few boys, definitely in my class, that would definitely associate themselves with that sentence. So I want you to have a think about now. Talk to the person with you how you're going to use parenthesis. It's a really good year 5 skill. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're going to do it. So last week, the last lesson that we looked at was on your person's early life, wasn't it? So I wrote mine about Helen. I'm going to continue in that vein and talking about Helen in this one, and then I'm going to move on and do Tim, just so everybody who's doing either Helen or Tim have seen an example in one sentence or another to help them with another one. I just think it's only fair. So I'll read you this. Studies. Throughout much of Helen's early life, she was fascinated by space and sciences. Her father's influence as a scientist himself and her hard work and determination allowed Helen's scientific knowledge to become even better. Helen's unwavering dedication to science meant that she was accepted to study at the University of Sheffield in 1981. So we can see there we've got lots of information about why she chose to follow science, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. We've also talked about where she went to do her studies. I've underlined and made this bold here just because I think it's a word that a lot of you might not have seen before. Unwavering means never stopping, but it's a really good high-level piece of vocabulary that I'm expecting some of you to be able to use for definite. I see no reason why you shouldn't. So, after 3 years of hard work and advancing her knowledge even more, she graduated with top marks from the university and soon achieved even more when she moved to London to continue her studies. Her determination continued to pay off as she was awarded a doctorate and was now one of the greatest chemistry minds in the entire country. It was after becoming Dr. Helen Sharman that she got her job at Mars, not the Red Planet. So there, I've tried to put brackets in to give extra information about Mars. Obviously, people know that it's not on Mars, the Red Planet, but it's good to sort of interest people like that, give them a quick laugh as well. Even when working at Mars, she never gave up on her fascination with science, continuing to work hard and push her knowledge further. So, I know Tim's different. Before he began his training to be an astronaut, obviously he worked in the army, didn't he? So there's a lot more that Tim got up to because there's a lot more stories to be told about him because he had 18 years in the army. Helen left school, studied as a scientist, worked for a couple of years at Mars, and then all of a sudden she was an astronaut, wasn't she? So again, there's a lot of important things there. I think that anybody doing Dr. Helen will definitely be able to have found out more in the last couple of weeks and definitely be able to write one that's as good as that. I've given you some examples of parenthesis in there. I've also tried to give you examples of really good high-level vocabulary I'm expecting to see you use. This part for Tim, I would be expecting you to talk about his life before he went to space. So in Tim's case, it's the army, isn't it? So this paragraph would be really nice for you to write about. Helen's studies, what she was doing before she went to space, Tim's work in the army, and obviously when he left the army, he went to be a helicopter test pilot. Get all the information you possibly can in there, and it will really, really help you. You can never have enough detail when you're writing a biography, and that's a really good thing to think about. Okay. So I put some language structures on this that you're welcome to use. You should have still got your different help sheets from last week when you started planning and writing. They'll come in really useful. I keep checking your plan, keep checking everything that you've done so far, and I hope to see you soon. It was really nice to see a few of you come and collect your packs on Monday and Friday last week, so that was really nice, and I hope you enjoyed the snow last week as well. So I'll see you soon. I hope you take care, and please feel free to send any finished work or any questions or any help that you need to our email address, which is year5@huckler.sheffield.sch.uk. Take care.